This news story was written by Brianna Sachs. Did power lines help start the LA fires? What we know. Driven by powerful winds, the Eaton fire quickly erupted and roared into the Altadena community. Dozens of homes in the Altadena area, including some near Eaton Canyon, still had power when the Eaton fire sparked near a large transmission tower and distribution pole around 6:15 p.m. Tuesday, according to a grid monitoring company and interviews with residents. The fact that electricity was moving along transmission lines between Eaton Canyon's hillside and nearby homes at a time of high wildfire risk raises safety concerns, according to two experts interviewed Thursday. It has become routine for utilities in California to shut off power during red flag events, when weather conditions pose the risk of winds downing electrical lines that could ignite vegetation. On Tuesday evening, powerful Santa Ana winds whipped the Eaton fire, which quickly erupted and roared into the Altadena community. At least 5 people have died in the blaze, according to Los Angeles County officials, and several thousand structures have burned. As of Friday morning, the fire has burned nearly 14,000 acres and is still 0% contained. The cause of the Eaton fire, as well as several other major blazes that are burning mostly out of control around Los Angeles, remains under investigation. One person is suspected of arson in the Kenneth fire. In the days before the fires erupted, the region had been bracing for the Santa Ana windstorm that meteorologists predicted could spark wildfires in the bone-dry mountains and brittle brush. Under these conditions, utilities typically assess the state of their electrical equipment, such as transmission and distribution lines, because in some instances this kind of equipment has caused some of California's catastrophic blazes. When winds hit wooden poles hard, they can cause them to snap or fall, or knock down these wires. When those are live and hit the ground in winter-dry grass and chaparral, it can be disastrous. The National Weather Service predicted that winds between 80 and 100 miles per hour could hit the Altadena area Tuesday afternoon and last until Wednesday, particularly the San Gabriel Mountains and foothills, where Eaton Canyon is located. The strong winds will likely result in widespread downed trees, power lines, as well as widespread power outages, the service said. Southern California Edison provides electricity to much of Altadena. Pasadena Water and Power services a small section that directly abuts the canyon, as well as the neighboring city of Pasadena. SCE issued a statement Wednesday acknowledging that the fire began in its service area. To prepare, SCE shut off power to portions of the high-risk Altadena community Tuesday afternoon, it said, hours before the fire started, and specifically around the origin point. SCE's distribution lines immediately to the west of Eaton Canyon were de-energized well before the reported start time of the fire, the company said. However, data from Whisker Labs, a company that uses an advanced sensor network to monitor grids across the United States, shows that some homes in the utility's service area were still online at the time the fire started. Homes on Midlothian Drive, directly to the west of the canyon, as well as some homes north of East Altadena Drive, had power throughout the afternoon and past the fire ignition time of around 6:15 p.m., said co-founder and CEO Bob Marshall. Whisker Labs' network also showed the region's grid showed considerable stress in the hours before the fire erupted, Marshall said. It identified multiple faults, where a power line has either come into contact with vegetation or another line and releases sparks during this period. A spokesperson for SCE said that it has an extensive network of cameras and weather monitoring systems that assess very localized conditions when they decide whether to de-energize a neighborhood, and they took this event very seriously. The Whisker data shows that scores of people in Altadena were without power, but some homes still had it. That means electricity was still moving between the transmission and distribution lines above the homes and in Eaton Canyon's hillside, according to Marshall and Michael Wara, a climate and energy expert at the Stanford Woods Institute for the Environment. That is very surprising, Wara said of Whisker Labs' findings. When asked about some of their homes still being online, an SCE spokesperson said, "We will review all information available to us as part of our investigation." Late Thursday night, SCE filed a report with the Utility Commission stating that it had received evidence preservation notices from counsel representing insurance companies in connection with the fire, and that there are online publications that seemingly suggest SCE equipment may be associated with the cause. The utility said it reviewed its electrical circuit information for energized transmission lines going through the area for 12 hours before the fire started and found no interruptions or electrical or operational anomalies until more than 1 hour after the reported start time of the fire. At 6:15 p.m. Tuesday, Jennifer Errico's husband Marcus burst through the door saying that the electrical tower on the hillside across from them was on fire. She ran to her back porch and said flames were roaring from the base of the tower. Errico snapped photos of the blaze blowing up beneath the transmission infrastructure, which she said was on the east side of the canyon. In its statement, SCE confirmed that it has transmission facilities on the east side of Eaton Canyon. The utility has a 220 kilovolt transmission line there that powers much of the community. Errico lives at the end of a cul-de-sac that nearly touches the Eaton Canyon nature area. It's technically Pasadena, but Altadena starts a few streets over. Her utility is Pasadena Water and Power. At 1 p.m. on Tuesday, the city warned it might have to shut off power to decrease potential fire risk. However, Errico said that her home had power the entire time, as did her neighborhood. The lights were on across the canyon from us and above us, which is Altadena, she said. There weren't any outages around us. Errico said when they came home the next day and found that their house was miraculously still standing. Their porch light was still on. PWP did not respond to a request for comment about whether they went through with that plan. As soon as the couple saw the fire, they started scrambling. Having lived here for 10 years, they knew what to do, Errico said. They called 911, grabbed their to-go boxes, and started running around, ringing doorbells. "We've got to get out of here," she recalled saying. "We knew because the winds were outrageous." A spokesperson for SCE told the Post that it is focusing its attention on the historic, unprecedented events affecting its thousands of customers. As of Thursday afternoon, 320,000 people in its service areas were without power. About half of those were because the utility cut them off. It did not respond to specific questions about Whisker Labs' findings. About 25 miles away from Altadena, Matt Fernandez was driving north on Interstate 5 around 10:10 Tuesday night, heading home after dinner with friends, when he saw two bright flashes in the sky, a purplish-blue glare, he recalled. There was no bang or lightning, he said. Stunned, he turned the corner and the hillside was burning. That turned out to be the start of the Hearst Fire, the third major blaze to take hold in the Los Angeles area. Whisker Labs data shows there were two very large grid faults in the Sylmar area, where Fernandez saw the flashes, one at 10:11 p.m. and another at 10:29 p.m., with smaller ones in between. Any fault can cause a fire, Marshall said. One was so significant that the network's sensors lost power, meaning it resulted in a power outage in that area. A video posted on Twitter captures what Fernandez witnessed. A massive, bright purple glare, and then an eruption of orange in the hills. The Hearst Fire broke out in a region serviced by Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, though SCE said in its statement that it has transmission facilities near the reported ignition site. SCE said it was currently conducting a review of the event. Unlike SCE, LADWP does not shut off power during red flag wind events. Its wildfire mitigation plan states that it determined that the adverse impact on health, safety, and quality of life of its customers outweighs the perceived benefits derived from preemptive power shutoffs. However, it will de-energize lines in the event of an ongoing wildfire. Utilities have caused a number of historic, deadly wildfires in California and elsewhere. SCE was found responsible for starting the Woolsey Fire that ripped across Malibu in November 2018. Which was also driven by Santa Ana winds. On November 6th last year, 80 miles per hour, Santa Ana winds swept over dry brushlands, sending embers flying to surrounding parched hills and causing the mountain fire to rage out of control near Somis, a community located about 55 miles away from Altadena. It ultimately destroyed nearly 200 major structures. Wildfires have caused electricity rates to soar in California, according to a new report from the state's Legislative Analyst's Office. Before 2019, the report says, wildfire-related costs accounted for only a negligible share of utility bills. Now they account for as much as 13% of the bill, in large part because of the liabilities wildfires create for power companies. The magnitude of the damages and risks from utility-sparked wildfires have increased substantially in recent years, the report says. Evan Halper contributed to this report.